there are so many different things in my life where, because of the neurotypical standard that someone created in extremely modern, extremely young psychology, the theory of it all makes a lot of our natural neurodivergent traits look like they are just a disease, or that they are diseased traits, or that they are messed up in some way. Because very often, if you look at a neurotypical who just functions differently, by the time they start to behave in the way that we naturally behave, it's been some kind of physical trauma or emotional trauma, and something has changed them so that now their behavior looks more like ours. Excuse me, but ours isn't physically traumatic, or it's not it's not a symptom of something. It's just the way we're built. So when we take a viewpoint of life that our behavior is symptomatic of something, I can't think of a better way to phrase this, so I'm just going to say, in my personal experience, when we're taking a viewpoint, and what I've seen, my family, me, and everyone I know, when we're taking a viewpoint that something that is natural in us is symptomatic of something that doesn't even exist, or symptomatic of something that hasn't even happened yet, because we tend to be, we're born autistic. We're created from the womb. That's how our brains are made. It's usually, I will say, it can lead us to believing that there is something we have to treat, something that we have to make go away. For instance, if I do a better job at my task, building my business, when someone who's uncomfortable is around me, or someone who is profoundly loud and repetitive and all these different things, if someone who's very uncomfortable is around me and I do better at my work because they're there, then I need to heal that aspect of me that is so codependent on them and that relationship, locked into this unhealthy situation, that I can't function without them. And it was, in this situation, a lot of my options had to do with somebody who traditionally, they'd be in a position that's considered part of some kind of hierarchy where you're looking for their approval. And I used to think to myself, am I so desperate for this person's approval? I was trying to figure out what was going on with me. I'm always looking deeper. I don't assume that because I'm me, I don't have a problem. I don't assume that because I'm me, I can't have an illness, or I can't react negatively to a life full of trauma. So I looked for everything. I considered everything. I never assumed that I was immune to any of it. I knew I had the basis for all kinds of problems. So when it looked to me like I was being codependent in a bad relationship or a bad situation, I did think, oh man, I need to explore myself for this codependency and see if I can heal the problems and do better. And then for me, because of a world of neurotypical psychology, or at least the theory of it, because we who are paying attention, we know this stuff is always changing over time. But in a world where that's the basis, in the world where that's the basis for behavior, and it was never the basis for my behavior because I'm not neurotypical, it did make it seem like I had absolutely everything to heal, and everything that was different about me was a problem or a sickness. When in reality, I still like the computer metaphor. It was very much that the entire world just wants you to run like Windows, and perhaps I was running like Linux or iOS. It was just a whole different operating system. And so I'm trying to put in commands that would work with Windows, but I'm not running Windows. And the system I was working with is just, I don't even understand. What are you doing? This is not how I work. I'm showing you how I work. I'm showing you that the proper command for directed work-oriented function is being placed when you are in the room with another individual. But because my situation in my life made the individuals that I had dicey options rather than happy, delightful options, I had dicey thoughts about it rather than happy, delightful thoughts. If I'd had a world where I grew up and everyone was safe and everyone was loving and everyone was supporting and everyone was accepting of me, I might have looked at that situation and thought nothing of it. Because if I'm having a ball with a bunch of compatible people, like if I've been surrounded by a bunch of healthy, happy, neurodivergents who get me and don't want me to bend to somebody else's standard, maybe I would have just thought, I don't know, I find it so much easier when my friend is here or when my cousin is here or whatever, like when I'm around family or what have you. But that wasn't my experience. So I basically had this whole negativistic globe in which I was trapped. And that was just what I was in. I could see outside of it, but my experience was the negative stuff. And so when you seem to be clinging to something that's negative, it does seem unhealthy. But then it turns out all these many years later, fairly recently for me, I come across this terminology about body doubling. Once I know, okay, I have the ADHD brain, let's go learn about that because I clearly need more information to be living my best life. And I learned about body doubling and I'm like, well, I discovered this by myself. I just didn't fully know what was going on. And these days, there's a much more positive iteration of it because I'm in a very different place and I know myself in this way now. I mean, I can now just be on the phone. I've had many a very productive day getting stuff done that otherwise has been challenging to the point where I couldn't do it at all. But when I'm on a phone call with this one specific person, I will be on a phone call with them and we will just be on the phone for hours. And very often, most of that time is just quiet time. It's parallel play. We might both be on the computer. We might both be straightening up. But when that person is on the phone, the mere fact that they're there seems to cause me to just suddenly start doing stuff. I'm just up. I'm just grabbing the stuff that I needed to organize that I could not fathom organizing because there was so much and there's so many categories and it's like my junk drawer, but instead of in a drawer and put away, it's just sitting out in front of me in a corner. That stuff can be stressful. There aren't a lot of people of any neurotype who want to spend their days dealing with a junk drawer. It's not considered to be a fun undertaking. But my ADHD brain looks at that jazz and is like, it's really not necessary. I can put that off literally indefinitely. If I live my whole life and it's never done, meh, what did I really suffer? I had some clutter, but I did not have the experience of having to clean and sort the clutter, so I consider that to be a win. But when I'm on this call with this person, even if it's just quiet, even if we are not doing the exact same thing, it does help when it's like, oh, I'm going to straighten up this. And I'm like, oh, okay. Suddenly, I just feel like straightening up that. It just happens naturally. I don't have to convince myself. It just takes place. Because body doubling, it's lovely. It's wonderful in that it's passive. So if you happen to have access to another person who's currently in an earthbound physical body, you might be able to use them, for lack of a quicker term, use them to help motivate yourself to functionally get some of that stuff done. Attack your own junk drawer situation or whatever it is. And again, it doesn't even have to be doing the same thing because sometimes I know this person is not doing anything like what I'm doing on the phone, but having that phone line open, not even a video call. It could be a video call, an audio call works. So I'll just have my phone sitting here someplace where I can be heard. It's close enough to me that I can get back to it if we start talking again. And it's just silence, except for the sort of what I call ASMR-y sounds of somebody else, being on a computer or just rustling about or munching because they've made food or whatever it is. The mere fact that you're there is helping. And that's even what it was for me in situations where I wasn't entirely comfortable and it wasn't the best situation for me, because it wasn't really anyone helping me, and it definitely wasn't anybody else working on their jewelry business. Excuse me. It might have been someone just sitting there having a coffee and playing a video game. But the mere fact that someone else was there put me into some kind of automatic functioning move. I've been in the room with someone who's playing a video game, like, okay, well, I'm thinking about somebody who's playing a game on a tablet versus somebody who's like playing a first-person shooter in the other room. But the other room, like, it's attached in such a way that we can see each other and chat with each other. And so they can be over there playing a video game and I'm in here cleaning the kitchen. And suddenly now I just feel there's some kind of magic to it for me, because it's not just that I'm able to attack the task. It's that it doesn't even really feel like a task anymore. If there's someone there, like the person playing the first-person shooter, I enjoyed them. So it's not just passive body doubling anymore. Now it's a positive, happy social interaction, and that's bonding time. And so when I'm doing this task that is now easier because of the body doubling, just because they're there, it doesn't even feel like I'm doing the task anymore. And my memory of all of those situations was not cleaning up and living the nightmare. My memory is spending happy time with someone I love dearly. And I think back on it and I remember the chats and I remember all the cool stuff that we conversed over and the stuff that they would tell me about this game that they played that I hadn't played, and it was bonding. And so the task was not only getting done, but I basically don't even remember the hard part. Sitting here thinking about it, it's as if all I was doing was the happy part, which is not the task. Again, to be clear, it's interacting with that person. And in the moment, it really didn't feel as miserable or draining, because in that moment, I was having that spiritual connection that feeds the soul, and you're not draining your energy because you're not just standing there doing something that's really miserable and trying to force yourself. And there was, in a situation where there's no upside, there was an upside. And so I was getting that feeding in, that spiritual energy, that enlivening thing that makes you feel alive. And it completely changes it from just being, oh, now I can choose a task and specifically focus on that and accomplish it until it is done. Now I'm doing all of that, but I also am somehow getting fed instead of draining my energy and being exhausted. And that can vary, because sometimes it goes on for too long and you're like, okay, I've just run out of all of my energy now. I've been speaking for too long. I need to go nest. I still need to just go be alone in the dark sometimes. I'm me. I just need to do that. But until we reach that point where it's been way too much of that for way too long, it was this synergy and it felt wonderful. So I think about that with that positive individual there and juxtapose it with the experience where I had a negative situation, and it goes from feeling like that negativity tells me that I have codependency issues to the positive one feeling like I'm just getting fulfilled on some level, that I just have this kind of a best friend situation going on, and it just feels like we're chilling and everything else that's happening is just everything else that's happening in life, and it's just not a big deal. And for me, with that ADHD brain, being able to attack all of these different tasks, taking that from feeling like I spent my whole day attacking the task to feeling like, what? I was just living life. Random stuff was happening in the background. I wasn't even focused on it. There's a huge difference in a pointed attack and just some random noise going on in the background that's not even really a wholly integral part of your day. So I think my point is greatly share that story in case someone else is having a similar one. It is possible that if you're having an experience like what I've described, it might not be an unhealthy codependency. It might be that you've accidentally stumbled upon ADHD body doubling, but maybe it just hasn't taken place in a completely happy or comfortable way yet. And on that note, although I could swear I just forgot something I was going to say, I wouldn't leave you hanging. I'm always like, oh, I think I just forgot something. If I forget something and it's actually important or it actually needs to be said, I will put it in a short, or I'll make another video, because sometimes it's a whole nother subject. But at this point, I think I'm just about done. And so, once again, maybe you can process that and notice, because maybe you, like me, discovered body doubling, but without the terminology or without even being aware that you have an ADHD brain. And maybe it's not codependency. Maybe you just need a little help from your friends. Maybe you just need company. Because maybe your brain just gets different chemicals triggered properly by not having to feel like you're sludging through it and drudging through it alone. So, if you got anything from it, like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, do all the things. Thank you for being, and that's about it. Bye now.